that football coach is always a coach of something, bro. Like he's just known as a coach, bro. Um, but back to my story though. Fan bases. I find it crazy too that high school. Sorry, I'm changing the subject again. High school football coaches are like they take that crap so serious, dude. It's insane. Like they'll like snap their clipboard and all that. I'm like, dude, this is not the NFL, bro. But so sorry, but fan bases out there. I would say
0, 1. Let's get started.
morning, good evening, whatever time you guys are watching this. Okay, I'm K.M.B. If you guys don't know, I don't know how people do this. Okay, I took 1 week off of making a episode. Okay, dude, that blows my mind that I did every Wednesday throughout like I don't even know how long, over a year. Okay, every Wednesday. Or I dropped an episode every Wednesday. I don't know how people do it, dude. I don't know when I end the podcast, dude. I don't know what I'm gonna do with myself, but I feel like I do gotta end it eventually. But welcome to K.M.B. Real Talk with K.M.B. I'm your host, K.M.B. Again, so many K.M.Bs. I'm kind of done talking with the whole like demonic and spooky thing. October's done. Okay, we're in November. You know what's in November, bro? Sports, dude. Or I should say, one main sport that, let's be honest, if you live in America, you go nuts for American football. So today we are gonna talk about sports. I never really talked about, much sports on this channel before. Um, let's just say, I did many as a kid. I was not the most like ambitious kid doing sports. I'll admit it, most thing that if you consider it a sport, some people might do it. Um, I would say skateboarding, I was pretty good at it, but I never was like that deep into it where I was having skateboard competitions or anything, but I could ride a board. Not really on ramps, but like going down hills and all that. Um, so besides the point, um, sports, like I said, I did many as a kid. I'm gonna get into the subject in a little bit. I'm just gonna say it. As a kid, I think my first sport was when I was 5. It was soccer. 6, flag football. 7, I think basketball. 8, I don't remember. 9, it was hockey and baseball. Then it was hockey when I was 10. Then baseball again when I was 11. I think the mathing right. Um, 12, I did wrestling. 13 through 17, I did track. And then after that, I played kickball here and there and stuff like that. It was with a couple of friends. I've been getting into pickleball lately, so I still am staying active like that, so that's good. Um, well, I'm also still young, so thank you God. Let's keep it that way. Let's keep it that way. Sorry. Back to my story though. So I come from a long way of knowing about sports. My dad loves watching it. My family's kind of into it too. My grandpa was into it too. Speaking of grandpas too, my other grandpa recently just passed. I'm sure if you guys have been keeping up with the channel, you guys know about my one grandpa that passed away when I was 19. Really affected me and stuff like that. And I acted like an immature idiot online on social media. I did a lot of dumb stuff, I for social media. If you guys ever watched my testimony video, um I don't really talk about my past that much, but let's just say like I wasn't a drug addict, I wasn't an alcoholic, I wasn't like going to parties or anything, but I was vandalizing, I was trespassing, I was doing a lot of stuff that wasn't very mature of me, I guess. I needed to mature, and that's when I started going towards my faith. But again, I recently lost my other grandpa, and if it wasn't for this grandpa that I recently just lost, I wouldn't be the hard worker that I am today. He also told me about Jesus. He's his house was a faith based house. He was a huge Catholic. I'm not Catholic myself, but Catholic is Christian. He prayed to Jesus. So if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have known much about Jesus. So yeah, R.I.P. So back to the subject about sports though. Um, Again, sports comes a long way throughout my life growing up. I'm not gonna talk about every sport in this podcast. Oh yeah, I need to like count on how many times I said the word sports. Um, okay, but like I said, I'm not gonna talk about every single one. Let's just talk all with the basic though. Like cheerleading, is most of the time it's always the girls that were in gymnastics when they were real little and stuff like that, or they still do gymnastics in the winter time. But and then or it can be like TV. The TV stereotype is the pretty girl in high school. Um, Sorry, this subject though that I am gonna talk about is like basically it's an interesting one. Okay, it's an interesting subject that we're gonna do today. It's basically people we're gonna like do the stereotypical of people that play the sport, and then we're gonna do the stereotypical fans that watch the sport. It's a very different kind of thing. I never really did this on my podcast before, but let's give it a try. Again, I'm not talking about every single sport on this episode. I just talk about cheerleading. I'm only gonna talk about 8 more sports from here. Um, so if your sport that you really like swimming, isn't gonna be on here, or croquet or pickleball even isn't gonna be on here. So I'm gonna try my best to talk about in my opinion, the most popular sports. But let's get it started. First one we are gonna talk about is American football. I would say the stereotypical people that play football is people that do track or people that like I just said run fast or the the strong guys in high school or the bigger guys they play linemen. The person that plays quarterback most of the time is the suck up of the team, or if you're talking about movies, the stereotypical quarterback is always the pretty boy. um and then he's always dating a cheerleader. I don't remember in high school if many football players even dated cheerleaders. I don't know. I didn't really pay much attention. And also, too, now we are going to talk about the fan base. Oh, and a coach for a football team is usually a person that is very passionate about, the sport, because either one, they used to play the sport, or or it's funny, or in high school, they coach like so many other like sports. They coach football, and then they do track in the spring, or baseball in the spring. You know what I mean? Like he's always like that football coach is always a coach of something, bro. Like he's just known as a coach, bro. um but back to my story though. Fan bases, I find it crazy too that high school, sorry, I'm changing the subject again. High school football coaches are like they take that crap so serious, dude. It's insane. Like they'll like snap their clipboard and all that. I'm like, dude, this is not the NFL, bro. But so sorry, but fan bases out there, I would say for football in high school is like just the whole school. The homecoming is like one of the best. It's like everybody comes together in school and do the chants and all that, and wears the themes and stuff like that. We all come as one. Um, but I would say majority of the fan bases of football fans are guys that used to play football, and they can't and they keep holding on to the past, and now they got like a belly, and they just yell at the TV and yada yada yada, and says the coaches don't know how to do their job, even though it's like you never coached a football team in your entire life, so why are you yelling at it? Or they're alcoholics. That's most of the time that's their fan base too. But other sport that we are going to talk about today is baseball. Baseball is consider, I guess, America's biggest sport. I think it's American football, but whatever. I would say most of the time the players for baseball is kids that been hitting a T-ball since they were 3, I would say. Um, MLB league in a way. High school, I would say, is most of the time it's the people that do winter sports and then they do spring sports, or they just been playing baseball since they were little. But again, we're only talking about MLB mostly. Like I said, yeah, that's really it. It's just been kids that have been playing ball since they were real little, I would say. The fast kids too. I feel like being a baseball player, you definitely do gotta be fast. Um, yeah, and a lot of times too, a lot of when you're younger, you play baseball, you play fall ball, and you play spring ball. So they basically do baseball 2 times a year, I would say. If you play the game, and yeah, so and then fans for baseball, I would say is I'll say majority of it is people that aren't into football, and then so they pick a sport to be a fan of, so they pick baseball. Like I would say that's like kind of the fan base is kind of no diss on any like stereo. Like I'm not like full on judging on these people. I'm just saying like this is what I noticed. This is what I observe. And again, if you are a fan of, I just realized how judgmental this episode is. But besides the point, again, I'm just doing the stereotypical that I see at games too. Baseball too, in my opinion, especially MLB. I feel like the hugest fans are the family. I definitely feel like baseball games are probably majority of the family crowd, I would say. Um, they also do the whole like being on the board too for the fans. That's kind of cool. Other sport that we're going to talk about is basketball. Basketball, I feel like is another big like sport in high school too that a lot of people go to. Wintertime there's nothing to do and stuff like that, so you go to the basketball game. Yeah, so but I would say that for basketball players or the kids that, did volleyball in the fall or whatever, so then they get taller to play basketball. But basketball players in general, I would just say are people that are really tall, people that are good at shooting, people that are fast, um, people that are cheaters. No, I'm just playing. A lot of pro athletes are cheaters, sadly. Um, but yeah, so back what I was saying though, I don't even know what I was saying. But basketball fans, I would say, are majority of fans at basketball games. I feel like are couples, if you ever kind of observe that. I would say basketball too is like majority of people that play football, play baseball, that are like really into baseball, especially when it's like March Madness. So I remember in like school, like especially middle school, like all the athletic kids were like watching like March Madness and stuff like that. um, but now we're going to talk about soccer. Soccer are kids that, again, same thing, that have been doing it like real since they were real little. Majority of the players are just fast kids. Except the goalie. I don't really know say much about soccer players. I feel like I don't know. I don't really know how to explain them. Most of the time, I feel like soccer players are tall too. Um, but yeah, uh, fan bases for soccer are most of the time I would say I I don't really know how to explain soccer fans, but I would just say people that soccer fans are just people that are like super into soccer, dude. Like they'll stay up like all night watching the game. They'll like go all in for their team and stuff like that. Like paint their face and like cheer on their team and all that. Like they go nuts for that game, dude. Like yeah. I remember too when I was a kid. I used to flip through the channels or whatever, and I used to watch sports. And I remember me and my stepbrother at the time, we used to always laugh when the soccer ball used to hit the other person's head. I remember soccer used to be a big sport I used to play in elementary, actually, during recess. Um, So another game that we are gonna or sport that we're gonna talk about is ice hockey. Ice hockey players, let's be honest, are people that are missing teeth. That actually is a really rough sport, dude. Like you get slammed in the board and all that. I would just say most time hockey players are people with greasy hair, missing teeth, very stocky looking, tall, I would say. Um, yeah, and again, if you play the sport, dude, like that's a really tough sport. All these sports are tough, okay? These playing sports is pretty not easy, okay? So again, when you yell at the TV for people messing up, dude, you don't play. Um, but yeah, ice hockey fans are people that played it. I feel like most of the time it's people that played it when they were younger and then they never really like stuck with it again, or they still play it but they're not in the NHL, so they just like ruin the sidelines. Let's just say, man, back in high school, man, our everybody used to go to the hockey game, bro. Like we used to like chant and stuff like that. We used to face paint each other at those games. Like we used to like slam on the board and stuff like that. One time we slammed so hard on the glass or whatever, and the whole glass broke in the arena. No, I'm just playing. That never happened. I don't think no one really even knew we had a hockey team in high school. I'm sure it's pretty big in Canada though. So another sport that we're going to talk about is golf. It's even crazy too. Once you get out of high school, you start playing golf, dude. Like it's this whole time when I was a kid, I thought golf was for like I'm gonna say like old people, but like it's not. Um, a lot of people get into the sport. I would say majority of golf is just literally every like just grown up plays golf at least once in their life. Yeah. And then fan base for golf is people that want to take a nap on their couch. So now tennis is gonna be. Oh wait, no. Now we're gonna talk about tennis. Uh, let's just say players, girls that play tennis, are sometimes a little attractive. Not gonna lie. Yeah, I don't really know how I say this one. I would say actually most of the time tennis people are actually very athletic people. Yeah. Um and tennis fans are people that show up for their family and their significant other. Um we're gonna talk about last one we are gonna talk about is wrestling. You'll be actually surprised on how many people are a fan of WWE nowadays. Some people actually think that stuff's still real. It kind of blows my mind. But we're gonna talk about the wrestlers in general. I feel like you got to give people, especially to wrestling in high school too. That takes a lot of work. I know because I played it 1 year in sixth grade. Didn't want to do it since then. But yeah, so wrestling, like real life wrestling, like or not real, but WWE, like you also got to think of like how built those guys are. You know what I mean? Like how many times are they hitting the gym and stuff like that, dude? Like they're pretty built, Even too with the females too. And but WWE wrestling, I would say like background would be just maybe wrestling in general, maybe just acting in general or doing stunts in general, like in your background. Um, and again, stereotypical is most of the time I feel like it's just bulky, muscular people. Um, yeah, and the fans of it is usually people that think it's real. I don't know how else to explain it. Yeah. So, I mean, there is MMA out there, there is boxing out there. Those are very tough sports to play. I mean, again, as I said it, every sport is tough to play, but man, though, especially MMA, dude, that's brutal, dude. Um, my face is too pretty to destroy. No, just playing. But I'm gonna let you guys go. I know this episode was not really the most like exciting episode. I feel like it's not very something I usually do on this kind of channel, but you know, it's again, it's fall, it's November. I feel like sports is very big in this month, especially Thanksgiving. You know, let's be honest, we all watch football during Thanksgiving. But like I said, I hope you guys enjoy this one, or at least please stay tuned into the next one, because maybe the next one might be more exciting. Don't forget to put God first. But I'm gonna say peace. I'm out.